Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. The time is 9:03. We are ready to commence our meeting for the Doña County Board of County Commissioners, September 26, 2023. And we are at the Doña County Commission Chambers, first floor, the Doña County Government Center. And we will start with our invocation with Prophet Moses Eno. Did I pronounce that correctly? Good morning, sir. If you'll step up to the podium. Thank you.
Am I facing this way or this way? Okay, to the board. Father, we thank you. We worship you. We adore your name. Father, thank you for the direction that you have led us here today. I come in the name of the Lord Jesus Christ, in whom I preach. Father, thank you for the commissioners that are here. Thank you for everyone that is here. Lord, you are the one, the owner of wisdom and understanding. Father, give them the wisdom and the direction which they shall go in the mighty name of Jesus Christ. Father, let your name be glorified here today as they have called you to lead them. In you we trust. Holy Father, thank you. Thank you for those that are here in the name of Jesus Christ. Whatsoever problem they have, you are the solution giver. In the name of Jesus Christ. Thank you, thank you, thank you, Jehovah. Thank you. We honor you. That is why we call your name. Everything we do in the name of the Lord Jesus Christ. Lord Jehovah, put in their heart in things they should do in the name of Jesus for the county, for the state, in the name of Jesus Christ. Lord, we say thank you. We say thank you, thank you, thank you. In the mighty name of the Lord Jesus Christ, I pray. Amen and amen.
Thank you, Prophet. Appreciate that. Ladies and gentlemen, we will now move forward with the Pledge of Allegiance. And if I can have Lieutenant Flores step up to the podium and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, by liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Lieutenant. We will now move forward with roll call of the commission members present and to determine quorum.
Commissioner Murillo,
Present.
Commissioner Reynolds,
Here.
Commissioner Sanchez,
Present.
Vice Chair Chaljo Hernandez,
Here.
Chair Chaparro.
Present, we do have a quorum. The County Commission convenes as the Board of County Commissioners and the County Board of Finance in open session. Mr. Macias, are there any changes to the agenda?
No, Madam Chair. Good morning. I have no changes to the agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Macias. We will move forward to Pet Showcase. Mr. Macias?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Again, for those that are here in the audience and maybe those that may be viewing from afar, the County Commission takes advantage at every one of its regular meetings to advocate for the adoption of animals from the Animal Services Center. So our animals of the week, let's begin with our cat of the week, who is Kiki, 3 years old, female. I came into the Animal Services Shelter of the Mesilla Valley last year as a barn cat. So don't be afraid of the ear tip. My former family decided to bring me inside and attune me to the indoor life, which I took to quite well. I spent the last few months in a foster home as well, and my foster said that I'm really sweet. I am initially shy with strangers, but I love scratches and pets. Just give me some time to adjust to new situations, and that is Kiki. Our dog of the week is Mark, 2 years old, a male. I'm an energetic and friendly dog who would love to have a forever home to take me out on nice walks and coming home to relax together. I'm eager to please, so take advantage of that and help me learn some commands and good behaviors. Come by the Animal Services Center of the Mesilla Valley this week and say hi to such a special boy like me, although Mark's tongue looks like a very dangerous weapon. However, the adoption opportunities are going to be at the Bosque Brewing Company, with Citizens Bank, also the Village Hardware up in Hatch, and this is going to be occurring, one is this coming Saturday, the 23rd, at the Bosque Brewing Company, and the other one at the Village Hardware in Hatch is the 30th of September. On behalf of the Board of County Commissioners, I'd like to encourage everyone to give some thought to having a special companion in your life, Kiki or Mark, or some other animal that may catch your attention for adoption. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Macias. We will move forward with employee recognition. The commission will recognize Doña County employees for their years of service to Doña County. Mr. Macias.
Good morning, everyone. So the County Commission takes advantage again at all of its meetings to recognize employees who have reached a certain tenure with the county. So today we have not only someone who can say the Pledge of Allegiance really well, but someone who has dedicated 15 years in service to county residents, and that's Lieutenant Eric Flores. And Lieutenant, if you would please join me up here, and hopefully we'll have a chance to bring up your beautiful family as well, just to prepare you. Lieutenant Eric Flores joined the Doña County Sheriff's Department in August of 2008 as a cadet. He successfully completed the Law Enforcement Academy and became a certified deputy. He was assigned to the Patrol Division, where he is well regarded for his professionalism and dedication to public safety. Lieutenant Flores was promoted to investigator in 2015 and later helped form the Special Investigations Unit. In 2017, he was promoted to sergeant. 2018, took a supervisory position back on patrol, and he was promoted to his current role of lieutenant in April of 2022. Ladies and gentlemen, a really very special law enforcement officer, but even more importantly, a very special human being. Ladies and gentlemen, please join the commission in giving a special round of recognition to Lieutenant Eric Flores.
And if I may, before we take a photograph, Lieutenant, on a personal note, I'd like to thank you for your commitment. We've gotten to be friends, and I truly appreciate you. You're an outstanding officer, and we're so fortunate to have you. So thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Will the family come and join us as well? We'll proceed with an individual who has given us 25 years, and that is Ms. Priscilla Ramirez. And that very pretty blue color, yeah. So Priscilla Ramirez began her career at Doña County on September 23rd, 1998, as a seasonal maintenance worker with the Facilities and Parks Department. She transferred to the Treasurer's office as an office specialist in October of 2001. In 2006, she transferred to the Community Development Department as a development technician in the Building Services Division. Promoted in November of 2022 to planning assistant, she enforces the Unified Development Code, or the UDC, which consists of field investigation of property conditions, ordinances, codes, policies. She helps residents apply for planning requirements, zoning regulations, and building permits. She supports planners with property research and environmental code enforcement officers with education, training, and other projects. Priscilla is known to have extensive building permit construction knowledge, which helps the team while investigating or conducting field investigations. Her role switches to softball mom when she's not at work. In this role, she enjoys traveling to games and spending time with her family. Ladies and gentlemen, please join the commission in giving a great recognition to Priscilla Ramirez and the 25 years that she has given to public service. Miss Priscilla Ramirez. Again, this Nambe plaque is given to Priscilla Ramirez in appreciation for and recognition of 25 years of dedicated service to Doña County on behalf of the Board of County Commissioners and County Management, 1998 through 2023. Congratulations again. Madam Chairwoman, that completes our employee recognition.
Thank you, Mr. Macias. We'll move on to public input. If there is any person that would like to address the County Commission, please step forward to the podium. And please remember, you have 3 minutes. And if you would be so kind as to sign the sheet to your left. We don't have the sheet to our left. But we do have a blank piece of paper and a pen. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Truth and lies. The Bible is truth. We know that through mathematics and through history. We know that through mathematics because if a prophecy is to come true, if 8 prophecies to come true, the odds of that are 10 to the 17th. If you take 8 prophecies to 16, it doesn't become 10 to the 34th, it becomes 10 to the 45th. There have been hundreds of prophecies fulfilled to this point, and there are hundreds of prophecies yet to be filled about Jesus' second coming. Now, if I were to come in here and say, the sun isn't going to come up tomorrow, most of the people in here would say, Mark, you don't know what you're talking about. But if I came in here and said, there is no God, there'd be a number of people in here that would say, he does know what he's talking about. So in researching the Bible and history, I will tell you that the Bible is true because history proves it's true by those prophecies that were prophesied and have been fulfilled. Where am I going with this? We say that we have transparency, but on our voting, our legislature, the last time they were in there, said that in order to audit a vote, you need to have a court order. No longer can you just say, we want to apply to see the records. You have to get a judge to sign off on that. If there is transparency and everything is okay, why are they doing this? The playbook for Marxism is being worked in this state. An example of that is our governor, who's supposed to be like the highest one in following the laws of the land and the laws of this state, recently said that there are going to be no guns in Albuquerque, Doña, or Bernalillo County. And we all know how well that went over. Like they would say in the military, a turd in a punch bowl. She got a very bad effect out of that. But I watched clips from her and watched her lips moving and heard her words. She said, it's against the law. She said, it won't do anything to prevent criminals from carrying firearms. But she said, I believe I have the power. So she doesn't care what the law is. She just wants to do what her own power is. And I think that's a bad precedent. And I would tell you that prayer was started by Ben Franklin, and Thomas Paine, who is considered the father of the American Revolution, died penniless and friendless because of his attitudes. Thank you.
And sir, before you leave, this is being video streamed. Would you please introduce yourself?
Oh, Mark Veith,
Thank you.
Commission 1 District.
Thank you. Is there any other person that would like to address the county commission? If you'd step forward, please. Seeing none, hearing none, we will move forward to staff input.
Madam Chairwoman, the only thing that I wanted to bring to the attention of the commission, and some of you are already aware, we have been awarded the SAFER grant. It constitutes over $5 million. We'll have it on the agenda for the next meeting for the commission to accept when Chief Cherry is also available. That is going to allow us to expand the full-time firefighters by, I believe the number is 24. And the details will be presented to the commission at the next meeting. I do want to note and thank Insight, who is our grant researcher and writer, for their efforts, and the Goodman Corporation, who is a subcontractor and kind of a specialist in this area. So after 3 different efforts to acquire this grant, it's finally being awarded to the county. Thank you.
Thank you. Great job. Appreciate it. We will now move on to county elected officials input. Good morning, Dr. Askin.
Good morning, Madam Chair, Commission, Dr. Amanda Lopez-Askin, County Clerk. I wanted to give some general updates regarding our office and some of the activity. First of all, you may have noticed as you walk in, to your left is basically an electronic bulletin board. We're offering information for visitors who come in and out of the facility here. If you are a department that would like something on there, we'd be happy to help promote what you're doing as well. Mostly we have voting dates, locations, et cetera. So there's also lots of activity coming up. As you may know, there's a regular local election. To be clear, and to say this again and again, every November, like clockwork, in New Mexico, there is an election. Previously, prior to 2019, elections were held by different municipalities at different times. So often there was confusion by voters, where they would be, maybe driving by a school in February, and they would see a vote here. And people would always think, well, is that today? Is that me? So now you know, with the updated law, that every November, like clockwork, even years and odd-numbered years, there is an election in New Mexico. Our regular local election is coming up, and Doña County and the clerk's office administers elections for Hatch, the city of Las Cruces, the town of Mesilla, city of Sunland Park, and the city of Anthony. We also have many school board races that are within those 3 school districts. So if you think that this is not your election and you live in Doña County, please vote. This is your election. Early voting starts on October the 10th. We are always looking for election officials. I've had several media interviews where they say, do you have enough election officials? There's never enough, right? So if you head to dacelections.com, you're able to see the various roles that election officials serve, as well as see if you're interested in any of those. We do offer pay for that, and so if you would be willing to step up and help us support elections and the work that we do, we would greatly appreciate it. Also, I'm going to thank in advance IT, HR, as well as the PIO department for their help and support that is upcoming for our election. Also, we never talk about a recording and filing side of our office. We always say that's like the calm one that doesn't make necessarily the news, but it doesn't mean that day in, day out, they are not working hard for our community, including business licenses, the real estate community, deeds, recording, the probate office as well. So keeping that in mind, I want to thank Angelica Valenzuela, who is our supervisor in that department, and she and several members of our staff attended the bazaar this weekend that basically preserving basically history. And so we were able to showcase some of our items and some of our things that date back many, many, many decades. And also, last but certainly not least, we have developed a podcast. Now, if you're a little bit of an election nerd like me, these are be very exciting titles, which would be things like, we talk about how Doña was named. We actually have a whole podcast dedicated to our interns, where we talk to them and their ideas, and that Gen Z kind of is always helpful, that perspective. We talk about the faithists of Shalem Colony, really getting into the history of Doña County, as well as talking about elections, giving dates, insights, filing day, those kind of things. So please, if you're on Spotify, Apple, iHeartRadio, Google Podcast, LipSync, and also find it on our webpage or any of our socials, please find the Preserving History and Democracy podcast by the Doña County Clerk's Office. If each one of you would like to be a guest and we could interview you about your public service, we'd be more than happy to have you on. So thank you, and if you all have any questions, feel free. I am happy to answer any.
Any questions, commissioners, comments? Thank you.
All
Thank you,
right, thank
Dr.
you very
Askin. I
much.
appreciate it. I see our county assessor, Ms. Ortega, and her deputy assessor, Mr. Reyes, back here. Good morning.
Come on down.
Good morning, Madam Chair Chaparro, Vice Chair Shalja Hernandez, Commissioners Reynolds, Sanchez Amurillo, Gina Eugenia Montoya Ortega, Assessor, accompanied by my Chief Deputy Ruben Reyes. Just wanted to give a little brief update regarding our formal protest hearing determinations. We are currently still awaiting the remaining determination letters to be sent to us by the state, which is very, very minimal. Also, for those people who are not very familiar with the assessor's office role that we play is a crucial role in producing the tax roll, which is essential for generating tax bill for the current year. The tax roll will be finalized by the end of this month and will be delivered to the Treasurer's office no later than October the 2nd, Monday.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good
Madam
morning.
Commissioner, as Gina said, we're getting these things and they're waiting, but the assessor's office utilizes oblique imagery as a key tool for property assessment, employing both 3D and aerial imagery. We have maintained this practice since 2011, conducting countywide flights every 2 years to capture new construction and changes. Our upcoming flight is scheduled for this winter, typically between November and February when the trees have shed their leaves. This flyover aims to reveal the significant growth that has transpired within the county over the past 2 years. And it has been a real essential tool for our appraisers when they can't access a property or it's hard to see. So the oblique imagery that we're using is provided by Connect Explorer, formerly known as Pictometry. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioners, any comments, any questions? Thank you. Appreciate it. I don't see any other county elected officials. Commissioners, any input? Commissioner Sanchez.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Last week, we had a community meeting at the community center in Radium Springs, so I'm thankful for, just want to say thank you to the county staff that showed up. We did have our animal control, we did have our codes enforcement, Mr. Macias, Susie Cordero from Constituent Services, and we were able to, and I think we had a good conversation with those that did show up, so I'm appreciative for the public that was able to join and provide some feedback on. We're working on those feedback items. Next week, I'll be having another meeting. It'll be on the evening of October 4th, which is Wednesday? Yeah, just wanted to confirm. Next Wednesday, October 4th at 6 p.m. We'll be at the Doña Community Center on Ledesma at 6 p.m. If you haven't been to the community center since we've opened it back up, we invite you to come check it out. We've done some renovation work around the parking lots. There's been a lot of work that we've put into that facility. So we'd love to see you out there. We'll have a discussion again on some of the initiatives we're working on at the county, and then to be able to take your input as well. The other just note I wanted to highlight is last week we did have a special meeting. Commissioner Shaljo and myself had a special meeting of the Animal Service Centers of the Mesilla Valley. We've been working on updating of our joint powers agreement with the city of Las Cruces. This week we'll be reviewing and voting on it on Thursday for our next regular meeting of the Animal Service Center board meeting. But if you're interested in learning a little bit more about that, I'd like to invite you out 9 a.m. at City Hall on Thursday. So thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Sanchez. Any other commissioner comments? Commissioner Reynolds.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning. How's everyone doing? You don't have to speak now. It's okay. I wasn't at the last meeting, but the reason I wasn't at the last meeting is because every year since I've been in office, I actually travel with the Las Cruces Chamber of Commerce back to Washington. And last week, we got a chance to meet at the Pentagon and some of our elected officials to actually discuss what's going on here locally. I know I've talked before about, or spoken before about the fact that White Sands is in my district. Well, also 75% of Fort Bliss is also in my district. And they have roughly 6,000 acres just across the mountains from here. So when I go to Washington, I actually get a chance to sit down with the people at the Pentagon, some high-level people. This year, I was actually had the opportunity to sit down with the Assistant Secretary of the Army for about an hour, along with some other people from Las Cruces. And what we talk about is we talk about how what White Sands does and what Fort Bliss does actually affects the local economy. And what we do actually affects the mission of the country. And you'd be surprised, or you may not be surprised, how important Fort Bliss, Holloman, and White Sands are to the mission of the safety of our country. Those three bases provide more technology, more training, more options, and more missions to protect our country than just about any collective three bases that we have in the world. So it's important for a number of reasons. The economic impact on our local area is huge, over $100 million between the three of them. And also the way we treat them and welcome them into our community is something that is unique to New Mexico. And I know you know how welcoming we are in this community, and they feel it too. So being able to represent this community in Washington with Pentagon and also with our legislators directly, face-to-face, is an honor for me, and hopefully it helps to create a partnership with us and the federal government that makes us have more opportunities to funding and stuff. We're seeing that with the U.S. Department of Agriculture, where they are actually coming down to help us with help us move from septic tanks to sewer systems. So we're working with a project right now with them on a project right now to do some of that. We also saw some funding coming in for some other projects here locally, and I can't list all of them, but the point is this is, the first thing, I enjoy doing the trip because I get to actually get a chance to talk about how great we are here in Doña County, how wonderful people are, how fantastic it is to live here, and also to welcome them to come and provide more funding and support for the things that we're trying to do. The second reason I love it is because when I come back here, hopefully I've had an opportunity to have a positive impact on growing this community and improving this community for everyone's effort. And so I feel really good about that. And thank you for supporting me in that effort as a community as well. The second thing I want to talk about is the SAFER grant for the fire department. This is huge. I mean, Mr. Macias said it correctly. This is a once-in-a-lifetime kind of funding that we've gotten for the fire department. And the way we're planning to use that money is going to help us to move into a much better safety environment for the fire department, ambulance service, and eventually to serve the community and touch every point in the community. So this SAFER grant is really going to put us on the road to solving a lot of the problems we've had, or challenges we've had, I should say, with the fire department. So this is huge. So when you see the additional fire trucks out there and ambulances and firemen, please welcome them and thank them for their service. We appreciate it. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Reynolds. Commissioners, any other comments? I just have a couple of things to say. I was fortunate enough to attend the National Association of Latin American Officials Emergency Preparedness Convention Conference last week, and I'll tell you, after hearing about all the catastrophes throughout the country, we are indeed blessed. In this county, we've had a flood in the last couple of years, but apart from that, we are just so fortunate to be living here. And also to remind you that the State Fair is commencing the 27th. Is that correct, Mr. Macias? I don't have the information with me. Would you like to address that, please? Just the dates, and is it the 27th through the weekend?
I believe that there's some activities that begin on the 25th in terms of showing of animals, but I believe that the 27th is the opening ceremonies, so the more public, but they'll certainly be going on all of next week.
Thank you, Mr. Macias. So I hope you can all join us. Also, I'd like to recognize yesterday, it was a National Day of Remembrance for Homicide Victims. And since 1997, the District Attorney's Office has memorialized these victims by placing a blue angel in their honor, and they're on the second floor of the rotunda. And if you walk around the second floor, it is so saddened, and it breaks my heart to see so many blue angels for the youngest victims, babies in this community. So just if you have a chance to visit the names and just send them a good thought. Thank you. We will now move on to agenda item number 1, the regular minute meetings for September 12th, 2023. May I have a motion? I have a motion by Commissioner Murillo. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second by Vice Chair Shaljo Hernandez. Commissioners, do we have any additions, any changes to the minutes? Thank you. May I please have a roll call vote?
Commissioner Murillo,
Yes.
Commissioner Reynolds,
Yes.
Commissioner Sanchez,
Yes.
Vice Chair Shaljo Hernandez,
Yes.
Chair Chaparro.
Yes, motion carries unanimously. Thank you. We will move on to presentations and proclamations. Agenda item number 2 proclaims September 15th through October 15th as Hispanic Latinx Heritage Month in Doña County. May I have a motion, please?
I'll move approval.
Thank you, Commissioner Sanchez. I have a motion by Commissioner Sanchez. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second by Vice Chair Shaljo Hernandez. Ladies and gentlemen, all we have to do is look around this room and look at the people here in front of you, and we see the many valued faces of Latinx and Hispanic community well represented here. And we've learned that multicultural communities and embracing different cultures, points of views, and counties of origin should not be taken for granted.
Ever since Hispanic Heritage Week was proclaimed back in 1968, 55 years ago, it was important that we start recognizing the contributions of Hispanic, Latinos, Chicanos have made on our country here in the United States. It wasn't until 1989, though, that we actually recognize Hispanic Heritage Week became Hispanic Heritage Month. And so it's been, almost 24 years, sorry, 30, I'm trying to do my math here. I apologize, 34 years ago. But it's important because there's so much that our culture brings into the melting pot of the United States. One of the key themes that I've seen for this year has been prosperity, power, and progress in America. And I think one of the biggest things has been the talk of progress and trying to, quote unquote, flip the script. And what we mean by that is so many negative connotations, stereotypes have been tied to immigrants, particularly Hispanic, especially as we see living here in the borderlands. We see it almost every day. And so it's important that we recognize the contributions. One of the things I want to highlight is the progress that we have seen in the media, in our movies. My girls can grow up and they get to see Encanto, they get to see Coco. And more recently, we've had the movie A Million Miles Away that talked about the story of Jose Hernandez and his journey of being a migrant farm worker, being in a migrant farm worker family and becoming an astronaut. And so those are the types of things that we get to see on the screens now, and that is progress. So today, we're honored to have two organizations receiving the proclamation today for the cultural influence they have in our community. We celebrate Latinx Hispanic Heritage Month, and even in the naming of the celebration, we continue to evolve, learn from each other, and embrace new ideas, especially when they provoke thought and reflection. We're honored to have one of the organizations is represented by Dr. Rio Lopez, the Director of Chicano Programs at NMSU. Chicano Programs focuses on supporting students with Latinidad experience as they navigate and excel in the university environment. NMSU Chicano Programs is hosting a Latinx Heritage Month series in appreciation of Hispanic Latinx heritage, and we encourage all in the community to attend. You can find the calendar events at chicano.nmsu.edu, and I know there is one, just want to highlight one event that's today, the La Cumbias Day, which will be today at the Garcia Center at NMSU between today at 11:30 to 2 p.m.
But Commissioner Sanchez, can you cumbia?
No, we will not try that one. We will not demonstrate that.
Well, just to piggyback on what Commissioner Sanchez said, I am the product of two immigrant parents that had very little education. And many, many years ago, when we first started college, my sister was one of the first Chicano students recognized by I don't remember the doctor back then, but it is with pride and progress that we have come this far. And so I mentioned my sister Norma because she received 3 degrees in her master's at NMSU and was one of the first Latina managers for General Motors Corporation in Dallas many, many years ago. And so I'm very proud of her. Dr. Rio, are you here? Dr. Rio Lopez, are you here? Anybody representing the Chicano programs at NMSU? They may be running late. We'd also like to recognize Robert Palacios, the Executive Director of the Las Cruces International Mariachi Conference. And he and other persons in his organization are here to receive this proclamation. The Mariachi Conference brings us together in education, mariachi music, and ballet folklorico each year, and preserving the cultural art forms that are deeply interwoven in New Mexico and the Southwest. This year, the Las Cruces International Mariachi Conference is November 8th through the 12th, and it will be their 30th year anniversary. Congratulations. And we can learn more about their events at lascrucesmariachi.org. Robert, would you like to step forward with you and your representatives and give us a background? And by the way, qué linda te ves, niña. When I was little, I wanted to dress just like that. Good morning.
Good morning, Madam Chair, County Commissioners. Thank you so much for this proclamation today and for having us here at the meeting. You want to introduce yourself? So my name is Robert Palacios. I'm the Executive Director.
My name is Sylvie Galvan de Lucero. I'm the Folklorico Workshop Director.
My
name is Isabel Valles, and I'm the ballet folklorical dancers.
So as you've said, we're celebrating our 30th anniversary. It's already kicked off this past Sunday in the town of Mesilla with our first Mariachi Sunday event. We're gonna have three more events, October 8th, October 15th, and October 22nd. And we invite the community. We need volunteers for our organization. So if you're interested in volunteering or supporting us as a business, we could always use your help. But I'm actually a product of the Las Cruces International Mariachi Conference. I started participating in the workshops in 2002. In 2016, I opened up the Las Cruces Mariachi Conservatory to continue teaching our traditions and art forms. And in the end of 2016, beginning of 2017, began working with the conference as the executive director. So it's been a true honor and privilege. I want to keep these art forms alive in our community and keep fostering the next generation, because without them, we lose our art forms. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Rob. And Sylvia, I've known you since you were dressed
Yes,
as this young lady, but younger.
No, I just wanted to add to that, you know, part of the Las Cruces International Mariachi Conference is the education of our youth in the community. And myself am a product from the very beginning, so 30 years ago, and I'm now fortunate enough to be the principal of La Academia Dolores Huerta, a charter middle school here in Las Cruces that focuses on continuing the cultural arts of our community through support of the academics as well. So this is one of our students here today who's not only part of the conference, but part of our school and part of our community. And we just want to thank you for the recognition of this beautiful time in our year.
Thank you. Mr. Macias?
Thank you. A proclamation for the consideration of the commission. Whereas today, we join the nation and our state in recognizing and celebrating Hispanic Latinx Heritage Month, celebrated from September 15th through October 15th to celebrate and honor the diverse cultures, histories, and contributions of Hispanic and Latinx communities in the United States. And whereas New Mexico and Doña County are better places to live because of our proud multicultural heritage in sciences, healthcare, technology, business, activism, culture, art, agriculture, and sports. In each of these fields, we find Latinx participants who are community advocates, policymakers, doctors, scientists, entertainers, and athletes we recognize who elevate our community as a whole. Whereas diversity within the Latinx community is as varied as our many cultures throughout the nation, and we acknowledge that representatives from every Spanish-speaking country live among us and help enrich our lives and daily experience. And whereas, as we commemorate Hispanic Latinx Heritage Month, it is important to remember that our nation's strength lies in its diversity. By embracing the unique backgrounds and stories of our Hispanic Latinx communities, we not only honor their contributions, but also enrich our collective experience as Americans. And whereas we encourage residents to participate in our community's various educational and celebration opportunities for students in the community, ranging from talks with book authors to poetry, cultural discussions, great food, and music. Now, therefore, the Doña County Board of Commissioners does hereby proclaim the month beginning September 15th through October 15th as Hispanic Latinx Heritage Month. Proclamation for the consideration of the commission.
Thank you, Mr. Macias. Any other comments, commissioners? May I have a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Murillo,
Yes.
Commissioner Reynolds,
Yes.
Commissioner Sanchez,
Yes.
Vice Chair Shaljo Hernandez,
Yes.
Chair Chaparro.
Yes, motion carries unanimously, and adelante con orgullo con esta conferencia de mariachis.
Thank you.
Commissioners Chaparro and Sanchez, would you please come down to present the plaques? Give us a few steps.
Thank you for that. And I've been remiss, I just saw Representative Ray Lara. And I think there he is. Thank you, Representative Lara, for attending our meeting. We will now move forward to agenda item number 3, proclaim October 1st through 7th as National 4-H Week in Doña County. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Reynolds, a second by Commissioner Sanchez. Commissioner Reynolds.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Sorry, clear my throat a second. You know, I have had the honor to actually work with the 4-H for 2 or 3 years on some projects here and to have meetings with them for some time. And they're all going to be out at the fair, actually doing some presentations. They have some booths out there. They also have some contests, basically, of showing animals. They'll be showing rabbits, horses, goats, many animals out there. It's really great to go out and just to see what they're doing there in the pens and see how they're treating the animals and everything. So I recommend everyone go out to the fair this week and actually see what the 4-H is doing out there and how much of the activity revolves around what they're doing. However, the New Mexico State Agricultural Extension of Doña County 4-H program is very dynamic, non-formal education format that provides youth opportunities to learn, develop life skills, have fun, and contribute environmental education, community service, and current youth issues. And I've seen this for the last 3 or 4 years. And because they've invited me to some of their programs and some of their dinners and things and awards banquets. And if you haven't been part of the 4-H, I got to tell you this. These 5 young adults out here are the leaders of the organization this year. They do everything, they manage everything, they set everything up, and the adults just simply help them and advise them. They don't do the work. These teenagers and the younger children actually do all the work for this program, which is amazing, and they do a great job of it. So they participate in contests, expositions, fairs related to their selected projects and develop leadership skills and practice public speaking, learn organizational skills, develop self-esteem, decision-making strategies. The unique program is implemented by the Agricultural Extension statewide and teaches life skills learned through practice while mentored to become productive, well-informed, self-reliant, responsible adults. Here today to receive this award are Joa Owens, President, Nadia Naparco, Treasurer, Oliver Settles, Secretary, Paxton Rogers, Ambassador, and Katya Naparco, 4-H member, and also their advisor, Shannon Naparco. Okay, please stand here. And I got to tell you, in the time that I've spent with them, I've seen these people, these young adults, move through a lot of different phases for coming from being young adults to being adults. And this program teaches them skills that I don't think we get enough of in the community today. And I highly recommend anybody who has a child that can participate in this program and watch them grow and mature into a leadership adult or leadership capable adult needs to do that, because this is just a fantastic program. Would you all like to say anything before we give the presentation? Please, go ahead.
So, good morning, commissioners and distinguished guests. My name is Joa Owens, and I am the current Doña County 4-H Council President. And joining me today are 4-H representatives.
I'm Paxton Rogers, and I'm the 4-H ambassador.
Good morning. My name is Najee Naparko, and as Mr. Reynolds said, I am the Doña County Council 4-H Treasurer.
Hi, my name is Oliver Settles. I am the Doña County 4-H secretary.
Hello, my name is Katrina Naparko, and I am a member of the Desert Clover 4-H Club.
Thank you very much. Now, Mr. Macias, would you read the proclamation, please? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Did you? Go ahead, please. Sorry.
So today we would like to thank you for your support of the Doña County Extension Office, the Doña County 4-H program, and for your National 4-H Week proclamation.
The Southern New Mexico State Fair starts tomorrow, September 27th, and runs through Sunday, October 1st. We would like to invite you to join us at the fair as we recognize and showcase all of the cumulative work that the over 400 4-H youth members and 160 adult volunteers and County Extension Office agents and staff that support them.
As a token of our appreciation, we have a treat to share with each of you. Thank you for your time, support, and opportunity to speak. See you at the fair.
Is that it? Yes, that's it. Okay. Now, Mrs. Macias, would you please read the proclamation?
Thank you, Commissioner Reynolds. Whereas this year we celebrate access and equity for all and highlight National 4-H Week's theme, which is Opportunity for All. The theme reminds us that every child has valuable strengths and real influence to improve the world around us. As 4-H brings opportunity and experience to young people from all backgrounds. And whereas for 120 years, 4-H has served America's young people to make the best better, and is now the nation's largest youth development organization. 4-H aims to help youth and their families gain knowledge and skills that help them reach their full potential, improve their own quality of life, and thus our communities. Whereas by understanding the complex experiences they face and fostering high-quality leadership development, 4-H helps youth meet the challenges of adolescence and successfully grow into caring, healthy, thoughtful adult leaders. Whereas 4-H connects participants to their community, preparing them for work and life through experimental and inquiry-based learning, while providing emerging research knowledge for positive youth development. And whereas 4-H helps youth explore the world around them with curiosity as they grow into productive adults by promoting healthy development and therefore the ability to act as responsible members of society and agents of change. And whereas local 4-H youth and volunteers through the Doña County Cooperative Extension Service at New Mexico State University are actively engaged in programs that promote STEM education, agriculture, healthy living, and community service, contributing to the betterment of our community. And now, therefore, as the Doña County Board of Commissioners does hereby proclaim the week of October 1st through 7th as National 4-H Week. Madam Chair, a proclamation for the consideration of the board.
Thank you, Mr. Macias. Commissioners, any other comments? Commissioner Reynolds.
Madam Chair, yes, I have one more. I forgot to say this. This is real important. I spent 6 years as a Cub Scout leader and working with the Boy Scouts. And I have to tell you that that program doesn't come close to preparing the young adults to be the people that this program does. This is a far superior program to the Cub Scouts, Girl Scouts, and any other program I've seen youth participate in except sports. And they really do get challenged every day, and they're expected to do the job, and they do. So we should be really proud of them in this organization. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Vote?
Yes, I was about to do that. Thank you. Anything else, commissioners? Thank you. May I have a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Murillo,
Yes.
Commissioner Reynolds,
Yes.
Commissioner Sanchez,
Yes.
Vice Chair Shaljo Hernandez,
Yes.
Chair Chaparro.
Yes, motion carries unanimously.
Big enough?
No, the microphone.
Thank you so much. Madam Chair, and I believe the students wish to provide a gift.
Thank you, Mr. Macias. And I look forward to seeing you all tomorrow. I'll be at the fair, so hopefully I'll run into you. Oh, thank you. Oh, my God. Oh, cakes.
So which one of you made these?
Thank you so much. That's very kind.
Oh, thank you so much. 1,000 calories. Thank you.
Apparently, no lunch will be needed today, Mr. Macias. We have this. Thank you all. That was very kind. We appreciate you. We will now move forward on to agenda item number 4, proclaim September as Childhood Cancer Awareness Month in Doña County. May I have a motion, please? I have a motion by
Second.
Commissioner Murillo. I have a second by Commissioner Reynolds. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, September is Childhood Cancer Awareness Month. And may I please have those persons representing this organization step up to the podium? All of you. Love to see you around the podium, please. Good morning.
Good morning.
I see a tall young man trying to be invisible, but he's too tall. According to St. Jude's Children's Research Hospital, 43 children in the United States are diagnosed with cancer every day. Today's proclamation is to acknowledge the efforts of these families who need our support in the fight against childhood cancer. One of the most passionate groups in our area is led by moms who have children battling cancer. These children need blood donations throughout treatment. Southern New Mexico Families Fighting Childhood Cancer's mission is to help kids in the Southern New Mexico in their journey, as well as fund research at UNM Hospital. They host local blood drives, spread awareness through partnering with the City of Las Cruces Public Schools, the police department, as well as the fire department. And one of the mothers, Ms. Erica Kelly, is here to receive the proclamation and to tell us more about Southern New Mexico families fighting childhood cancer and their efforts. Good morning, Ms. Kelly.
This is Miss Kelly. I'm Meredith Monroe. We're both.
Good morning.
Hello. Actually, Meredith is going to address, if that's okay. Hi there. We just wanted to appreciate your efforts in helping us to raise awareness. As you can see, we are a group of many parents, many families, just some of the few affected here in Doña County by childhood cancer. It is not a rare disease. It is affected, Erica and I worked together in a school, and then 8 years apart, both of our children were diagnosed with cancer. And so it is not a rare disease. It is something that we are working very hard on, trying to spread awareness. Many people see a pink ribbon and they automatically know breast cancer awareness, know the fight, the battle, the struggle that families go through. And we want to bring that same awareness when you see a gold ribbon. So we passed out gold ribbons to you today and hope that you can help us in our mission to spread awareness. With that increased awareness becomes better funding for our children. Only 4% of the National Cancer Institute funding goes to childhood cancer. And so we use the gold ribbon to represent that because our children are more precious than gold. And we need that increased funding for better treatment for our children. And so we appreciate your efforts in helping us to raise awareness here in Doña County. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioners. Any comments? Well, I'd just like to thank you for your commitment in this community. I was aware of your group, and so I've been doing a little more research in the last week. So thank you for your courage and your steadfast support for these kids. You are heroes. So, Commissioner Murillo.
I do have a question. Do you have like a support group for parents that you meet?
We don't currently. Currently, we have just kind of a small group that we kind of started. We don't have anything specific yet. We are working on developing a nonprofit organization called the Southern New Mexico Families Fighting Childhood Cancer. And so within that, we may look at support groups and other things for families.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Murillo. And I also would like to recognize the other persons in attendance, Eddie and Delia Hauserman, Erica Kelly, Silas Kelly, Deborah Kelly, James Kelly, Nicolas Ortiz, Amanda Ortiz, Tava Ortiz, Marissa Ortiz, Ramon Ortiz, Jesse Weber, Susie Weber, Cruz Hoffman, Avon Weber, Zelia Weber, Jim Weber, Meredith Monroe, Monique Hilverding, Marisa Robles, Bria Robles, Miguel Robles, Diana Telemantes, and Michelle Blackwater. Thank you so much for attending. And may I have a roll call vote, please?
Madam Chair, I don't believe...
I'm sorry, the proclamation?
Yes, but I may be mistaken, but I didn't hear a motion.
Yes.
Was there a motion?
There was
There was
a
a
motion.
motion and seconded.
All right,
First
thank
by
you.
me and second by Reynolds.
Thank you. Whereas childhood cancer is a devastating disease that affects the lives of thousands of children and their families each year. And whereas despite tremendous progress in the field of medicine, childhood cancer continues to be a leading cause of death among children, and the need for further research and awareness remains critical. Whereas the impact of childhood cancer extends beyond the child to their families, friends, and the entire community. Groups like Southern New Mexico Families Fighting Childhood Cancer exist to bring awareness about childhood cancer in an effort to increase research funding and better treatment and care for kids. And whereas during Childhood Cancer Awareness Month, we honor the brave children who have battled cancer, support those currently fighting the disease, and remember those who have lost their lives to this terrible illness. And whereas we recognize the dedicated healthcare professionals, researchers, and organizations who work tirelessly to find a cure for childhood cancer and improve the quality of life for young cancer patients. And whereas raising awareness about childhood cancer and the importance of early detection can lead to an improved outcomes and a brighter future for affected children. One way the Commission will shine a light on this worthy cause is by going gold, with lights on September 29th and 30th at the Government Center in support of families who are actively fighting childhood cancer. Now, therefore, the Doña County Board of Commissioners does hereby proclaim the month of September as Childhood Cancer Awareness Month. Madam Chair, a proclamation for the consideration of the board.
Thank you, Mr. Macias. Now a roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Murillo,
Yes.
Commissioner Reynolds,
Yes.
Commissioner Sanchez,
Yes.
Vice Chair Shaljo Hernandez,
Yes.
Chair Chaparro.
Yes, motion carries unanimously, and thank you again for being here with us today.
So if we could have everybody kind of round in this corner, and try to get an angled photo here. And we talk to the back. Everybody smile, keep your eyes open. Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
It has to happen to someone.
Now we will move on to agenda item number 5, proclaim the month of October as Domestic Violence Awareness Month in Doña County. Pardon me. Each year, we issue a proclamation for Domestic Violence Awareness Month. We must encourage open conversations about domestic violence. Allies can help us break the silence and dispel the stigma that often surrounds this issue. Talking about, excuse me, my asthma's just kicked in. Talking about domestic violence openly can empower survivors to seek help, and it can educate others about the warning signs and how to provide support. Domestic violence happens to both men and women and can be generational trauma for children who are exposed to the violence and can affect our entire community. This month, we seek to remember and call forth the new beginning for survivors in La Casa, Inc. And La Casa will be holding a candlelight vigil on the October 19th at 6 p.m. at the NMSU Corbett Center Student Union Outdoor Stage. I'd like to welcome our first guest, and that is Mr. Marco Olvera. If he'll step forward to the podium. Marco has a very powerful story as a survivor of domestic violence, and Marco credits La Casa's domestic violence program for being there for his family throughout his struggle. And just to preference it, I met Marco a few years ago, and I was so touched by his passion and commitment to this work to prevent domestic violence. And thank you for being here and having the courage to speak about your experiences that you and your family went through, Marco. He was also a member of the La Casa board for a year or so. He is a domestic violence survivor, an author, a musician, a photographer, and he is a motivational speaker. Marco, thank you for your dedication. So if you have a few words for us, I'd appreciate it.
Thank you. Good morning, Commissioners. So good morning, buenos dias. And I have to agree with what one of the commissioners had said earlier, and that is that we are blessed to be living here. The world is getting wild, and yet our town continues to thrive and grow. It's where my family found safety, a safe haven where domestic violence was an everyday issue at home. Fear in the atmosphere. That safe haven was La Casa Domestic Shelter. It's what saved my family at our lowest points. 1 of 7 kids, 1 mother is hard. Those children and families we talk about helping is here today. It's been 16 years since my family walked through those doors. The youth we talk about helping become men and women in a few short years. Blink and the next thing you know, they're in big rooms like this, speaking and fighting the good fight. The product of the community's effort. It was my birthday this past Saturday. I'm now 30 years old. I'm grown now, working for Casa de Peregrinos, one of our local food pantries and local nonprofits. I had good mentors along the way who put good in my heart, and I love serving the community. La Casa placed good-hearted people in my path of life, and this is where I began schooling at the age of 14. And though I began schooling late, I thrived because that's what happens when you support those in need. Someone who can't wants to, and when you aid them, they fly. Support our nonprofits, support the next generation who will be in rooms like this, not that far from now. Thank you, and God bless you.
Thank you, Marco. And now I'll call up, we have Gloria Carreras, the event manager. And if you could just have a seat, Mr. Olvera, we'll call you up in just a second. With La Casa and board members, Alana Bradley and Anna Ransom. And I know that one of them is speaking. Is it Ms. Carreras? Good morning.
I just wanted to take this moment, Madam Chair, to thank the county commissioners and the distinguished guests. We'd like to share that we are here for every member of this community, for our county, that we don't say no, that anyone who needs services, please call, that we are here for you. Gloria?
As Chair Chaparro mentioned, my name is Gloria Carreras, and I'm the current event manager at La Casa Inc. I've recently returned. It's good to see you again. I'd like to thank Chair Chaparro and Marco. That was a very beautiful story, and it's one of the reasons that I am always drawn to La Casa Inc. Growing up in a similar situation of having domestic violence be a part of my everyday life for a while, this organization is close to my heart. It is constantly evolving, it is constantly growing, and as of 2022, we merged with the Healing House in Deming to create the La Casa Healing House. So now we also serve Luna and Hidalgo counties. I am grateful for this opportunity to have this declared Domestic Violence Awareness Month and the proclamation, so I thank you all for that. And we look forward to your support at the Candlelight Vigil. It is a very important event. We not only support those who have been lost to domestic violence and abuse in all its forms, but also to support those still surviving and thriving after the experience. So thank you again, and we appreciate your time.
Commissioners, any comments?
Madam Chair,
Commissioner Murillo.
when is your candle light vigil?
So we actually have 3 going on at all of our locations. We have the Las Cruces one on October 19th at the outdoor stage behind Corbett Center. We also have an Anthony Candlelight Vigil at our satellite office at 325 North 1st Street, and that one is occurring on Saturday the 14th. And then we have our Deming Candlelight Vigil, which will be at the courthouse, and it will also be occurring on October 26th, which is a Thursday.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Murillo, and thank you because I know La Casa is so important to this community, and I know in the last couple of years, the dedication of the staff and the board has been extraordinary. And to expand to Deming and to Anthony and to the thrift store where a few of us drop off our gently used things, I appreciate your efforts in this community, and Mr. Olvera, you are my inspiration. So thank you. May I have a roll call vote, please?
Madam Chair, do we wish the proclamation
Oh,
read?
yes, Mr. Macias, thank you. The proclamation, please.
Thank you. Whereas domestic violence is prevalent in every community and affects all people regardless of age, socioeconomic status, sexual orientation, gender, race, religion, or nationality. We are committed to creating a safe and supportive environment for all residents, free from the fear of domestic violence and abuse. And whereas physical violence is often accompanied by emotionally abusive and controlling behavior, can result in physical injury, psychological trauma, and even death, and means that the devastating consequences of domestic violence can cross generations and last a lifetime. And whereas the Commission salutes the courage and resilience of survivors of domestic violence and honor the work of service providers and advocates who stand for safety and legislation that promotes dignity and justice for victims, and whereas the Commission honors advocates in the work to prevent domestic violence, such as organizations like La Casa Incorporated, which functions as a haven for women impacted by domestic violence. They have grown to become one of the largest providers of domestic violence service in the state of New Mexico, where services are provided to all persons impacted by domestic violence. And whereas it is the responsibility of our community to acknowledge the existence of domestic violence, to support survivors, and to work collectively to prevent and address these issues. Domestic Violence Awareness Month provides an opportunity for our community to unite in raising awareness, providing education, and promoting prevention efforts. And now, therefore, as the Doña County Board of Commissioners does hereby proclaim the month of October as Domestic Violence Awareness Month.
Thank you, Mr. Macias.
Madam Chair, I'd like to move approval of, to proclaim the month of October as National Domestic Violence Awareness Month in Doña County.
Thank you.
I
We have a
second.
motion by Commissioner Sanchez, and I have a second by Commissioner Murillo, I heard.
Yes.
Thank you. Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Murillo,
Yes.
Commissioner Reynolds,
Yes.
Commissioner Sanchez,
Yes.
Vice Chair Shaljo Hernandez,
Yes.
Chair Chaparro.
Yes, motion carries unanimously. Thank you.
You should. Everyone would know right away what you're doing then.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. We will now move forward with agenda item number 6, a presentation of a proposed application and petition for approval of the formation of Alta Mesa Public Improvement District by Alta Mesa Estates LLC. Good morning, Ms. Amestorm.
Good morning, Madam Chair. I just wanted to introduce the applicant's representative, Pamela Giss, who will be providing this presentation. The Alta Mesa Estates proposed PID, and if you're unfamiliar with that area, it's down in Santa Teresa, and it was master planned a couple of decades ago, and so it's now finally moving forward with the developer. Thank you. Pam.
Greetings, Madam Chairwoman and members of the commission. I want to thank you so much for giving us some time on your very crowded schedule to talk about this project a little bit and to talk about the Public Improvement District and as a funding mechanism to sort of launch this project. And let me start by introducing our team real fast. I think most of you have probably met or are familiar with Terry McLaughlin with Alta Mesa Estates. He's the developer and one of the owners. We also have Devin McLaughlin, who will be sharing the last couple of slides with you. He worked on the fiscal impact that this development is anticipated to provide to the county. We have, I believe, Jenica Jacoby from on WebEx with the Rohde Law Firm. Jenica, along with Chris Muirhead with Modrel, are two of the top PID attorneys in the state working on both formation and implementation of these financing tools. So I think if you have any legal questions, they can certainly cover those for you. In addition, we have Sam Hartman, who's with D.A. Davidson. It's an underwriter that focuses primarily on these special districts across the country. He can certainly talk to you about what's going on in the market if you have any interest in that. And then again, and also I'm Pam Giss. I'm with Launch Development Finance Advisors, and we work with the team to bring these financing tools to life and to structure them for each project. So with that, I'm going to jump into this. I don't want to take too much time, and if I'm talking about anything that you already know and would like me to bypass it, please just let me know. I'm happy to skip around. So let's see. So the first thing I want to cover is just very generally, what is a PID and how do they work? PIDs are creatures of state statute. They are separate political subdivisions, separate governmental entities from the county that forms them. So they will have their own staff should you choose to do that. They will have a distinct board of directors, and the county is in no way responsible for the debt that's in the statute. These are separate entities. They are, unlike the county or municipalities, they are very limited in terms of what they are statutorily permitted to do, and they are focused on providing infrastructure to projects like this one, master plan communities or other communities with very large infrastructure requirements. The idea is that growth will pay for growth, meaning the existing residents of Doña County are not burdened with paying for infrastructure that benefits this one community. And the PIDs issue debt to finance the public infrastructure using the tax-exempt municipal bond market, similar to how the county would finance streets and roads and public infrastructure. And then the bonds are repaid through special levies that are imposed within the district on the property that benefits directly from the public infrastructure that's constructed. So in terms of what types of infrastructure qualifies as public infrastructure, it's things that you typically see dedicated to a public entity. Streets, roads, water, sewer, stormwater, fire, police, those things that benefit the public generally, and not things like a clubhouse that would benefit directly and only the residents of the community. Any infrastructure that is to be paid for using these bonds must be public infrastructure. And then generally, why do people or why would communities use public improvement districts or PIDs? Largely, it's because the financing is a much less expensive tool to get the community off the ground than traditional sources of financing. So you have longer terms, up to 30 years for the bonds. You have interest rates that are well below what the developer could get in other areas like bank debt or private equity. Tax-exempt bond rates right now for this type of debt are probably around 5.5% to 6.5% versus a bank loan, which would be significantly above that, and private equity, which is typically double digits. And then it's, of course, longer term. This is non-recourse to the borrower, meaning it's land secured. So when the developer sells the land to builders and the builders sell the land to the end users, that debt follows the land. The county, again, is not responsible for the debt, and the statute's very clear about that. One of the nice features of this is there's optional prepayment by the homeowners. Should they decide that they can pay for this cheaper another way, if they would prefer to roll it into their mortgage or just pay for it in cash and use it as equity in their house, they are free to do that. They can pay that off, and then they wouldn't be responsible for the balance of the 30 years. There are a number of protections for everyone in these, both statutorily, according to your own ordinances, and also just market protections. There are a number of buyer disclosure materials. This is recorded against the land, so when someone goes and pulls title work on the property, it's going to show up. We're also required, and our builders are required, to provide each potential purchaser with a piece of paper that says there's a PID on this property, that tells them, you know, that the PID has the ability to levy taxes and special levies, and that, you know, it provides them with an estimate of what that is going to be, both on an annual and on, I believe, a monthly basis. They are required to sign that prior to closing so that we know that they've received that information, and we keep a copy of that on file, and we can certainly provide a copy of that to the county. The county ordinance has a provision that's very standard. You see this across, you know, probably most of the country. That is a maximum overlapping tax burden. And what that means is that taxes as a percentage of that home value cannot exceed 1.99%, just under 2%. That's pretty standard. The only place you really see that significantly go over that 1.99% is in Texas, where it's generally above 2%, sometimes above 3%. Of taxes as a percentage of that market value. The other protection just comes from the market itself. When SAM goes to market bonds, the bond buyers are not going to want debt that exceeds a 3-to-1 value to lien ratio. So if I have a $100,000 lot, they're not going to be able to, or they're not going to be willing to lend really above $33,000 on that lot. So that's an additional protection. Debt service reserve requirements. There's anytime we're issuing these special levies, there's going to be an account set up that in the event the developer gets into trouble or there's trouble in the project, there's a year's worth typically of debt service that's available before the bonds are in trouble. That gives the bondholder some time to negotiate with the developer, find another developer, figure something out. So the approval process, and just to kind of let you know where we are, we've submitted a draft application to the county, and what we'd like to do is to work with you and your staff to put that in a form that everybody's comfortable with before we submit a final application to you. That's our typical approach. This is a long-term relationship between the developer and the county, and because this is a long-term project. And even though the PID is a separate political subdivision, everyone needs to be comfortable with this and excited about the project. And so we will finalize that. We will submit it. In this case, we're going to have 100% of the landowners signing on to that petition. And in addition to that, any lenders that we have on the property, if we have any purchasers that we have a purchase and sale agreement, we'll make sure we get a consent form from both of those so that there are no surprises for anyone should you decide to go forward with this. Once we've submitted a final application to the county clerk, that triggers a 90-day period in which the county has to make a decision on the application, which is why we want to make sure we have everything in a final form for you guys before we trigger that 90 days. This is there shouldn't be any cost to the county of this formation. So the developer typically pays the fees, the outside fees that you incur reviewing and negotiating these documents. There is an annual assessment that is on the property, either through the special levy or it could be a separate ad valorem tax to pay for the cost annually of the district and the district administration so that that doesn't come out of the county's funds either. And it is very common for jurisdictions to hire third-party administrators so that your staff isn't burdened with the county or with the district administration. I think most of the counties and most of the cities in the state do that. You have the option of appointing a 5-member board to serve as the district board and on the PID, or you can sit ex officio as the board yourself. That's a decision you can make. When we came in and we started talking to county staff about this, we had a pretty strong opinion that we really wanted to see you serve as the district board. I know that there was not as much excitement on county staff about that. In talking to our counsel, Jenica Jacoby, she pointed out that there's some flexibility in the statute that would allow you to start with a 5-member appointed board, and then at the end of a 6-year period, switch over to a county commission ex officio board. There's a lot of advantages to doing it that way, and we can continue to work with you all and with your staff on how we could structure that so that it's not an imposition or a burden on the county. And then prior to the issuance of any special levy bonds and after you've formed the district, the developer has to make a presentation with a feasibility report and an appraisal to the district board explaining what he's planning on spending the money, how he would like to spend the money, what public infrastructure would be financed, the viability of the project, the costs, all of that, and the county or the district board would then have the opportunity to decide whether it makes sense to issue bonds. So there are a lot of protections in place along the way. So I want to talk a little bit about our project specifically and what we're looking at. I know you know where this project is. You probably have a pretty good idea of the conceptual land use plan that's attached to this. And I want to reiterate that the PID is not an HOA. It has no zoning powers. It is strictly a financing tool. Whatever you all decide should be, in this master plan community between you and the developer, it doesn't really impact the PID. The PID can finance it one way or another, whether we're talking about an industrial project, whether we're talking about a residential or mixed-use project. It doesn't matter to the PID. Let's see. We have our estimated PID-funded improvements. And so we're estimating right now, and I think it's a little bit higher, but as of the time we put this together, it was about $160 million in costs, infrastructure costs to get the project off the ground. The first thing that we do is take a look at this and say, of all of these costs, what does the statute allow us to finance? And we estimated that of the $160 million, about $120 million of that would probably be financeable through the statute. We then go back and take a look and say, look at the project specifically. Where is the project located? What are the price point of the homes? What infrastructure needs to be financed? Who are the buyers of this project? because it makes no sense for us to load a project up with debt and cripple it to the point where builders are not going to be willing to come in and buy it because they know they can't sell it to end users. And so it is a back and forth about what makes sense on the particular project. In this case, we determined that about 100 million of the public improvements could be financed through the PID, leaving the developer contribution, and this is just on the public infrastructure. This is not land costs and housing costs and all of that, strictly public infrastructure costs of roughly about 60 million. Now, I understand that number's going up, but as of the date that we put this together, this was fairly accurate. And then this next slide is really breaking it down, but the main thing that I wanted you to see on this is that property taxes as a percentage of market value, we're estimating right now at about 1.63, well below the 1.99% that's permissible through the ordinance, the Doña ordinance. And so what we're showing is the number of units, the projected value, home value per unit, what we anticipate the annual special levy would be, the primary special levy, and the difference between the annual primary special levy and the secondary special levy in this slide. The secondary special levy is anticipated to provide revenue to pay for the administration of the district, because again, that is not the county's responsibility. The current property taxes per unit as an estimate, and then we show total property taxes with the assessment or with the special levy, and then the last line being the property taxes as a percentage of market value. So the next couple of slides that I have are both related to the fiscal impact of the project on the county. But before I step down and turn this over to Devin, can I answer any questions about the PID or project, PID project?
Commissioners, any questions, any comments? Commissioner Reynolds.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have a ton of questions. I don't think I can ask them all right now. One of them, this is going to be, okay. You're asking the county to allow you to charge levy against the people who potentially will be buying the property at up to 2% for 20 to 30 years. Am I hearing that? Am I getting that correctly?
Correct. So the infrastructure gets paid for one way or another. It can get paid for in home price. It can get paid for through the PID. It can get either, and the other option, of course, is not to have as many bells and whistles in the process, in the project. The cheapest way for us to do this is through the PID, and which is why they have the statute, because it allows us to finance that infrastructure using the same tools that you all have to finance infrastructure.
One of the requirements, I think you said, is 25% of the landowners have to agree to this, correct?
Correct.
Okay, how many landowners are there right now?
2.
Okay, so what you're asking us to do is to give 2 people authority to make a decision for 3,500.
Yes, we are.
Yeah,
that's
what
correct.
you're at. Yeah, because it's going to be roughly, if I'm looking at your numbers correctly, you're looking to build 3,500 homes. And it looks like low-income homes as well, right? No.
No low income, I
No,
don't
the
believe, no.
lowest property value is $300,000.
Correct.
For a 55-foot lot, which means it's a shotgun house. It's 55 foot wide and goes back. How many feet you plan to put it back?
But that would be a question 15? 115.
Okay, 115, that means the lots are going to be roughly about 5,500 square feet each, and 115 feet back and 155 feet wide. Okay, so that means if you allow 10% or 20% for land around it, you're going to build the homes at about 1,500, 12 to 1,500 square feet on those 55-foot lots, right? Is that what you're looking at? Sorry, ma'am, I should talk to you.
Oh, sorry. Oh, no, I'm not as familiar with the configuration of the lots. I would ask, oh, certainly. Okay.
Yeah, do you want to speak?
Talk about the, okay. Oh, sorry about
I'm not asking these questions to be mean. I'm asking questions because I'm trying to get to a point. But please answer that. So at 115, what's the average size of the house, square feet footage on the $300,000 homes?
Chairman Chaparro, Commissioner Reynolds, on the lot sizes we have, we're looking at a 50 by 115 lot, and the footprint of the house could go up to 2,500 square feet on each lot. So they would probably vary from 1,200 to that, and they could be 2 stories, so you could have a larger square foot lot.
Okay.
Square foot house, excuse me.
Yeah, I noticed you got like roughly 59 homes that are a half acre, is that right? And 50 at a third acre, and all the rest of them are going to be let's see, you said that's 5,500 square feet, which is roughly a tenth of an acre, maybe a little bit more, and lots, okay.
Yes.
And this is not, this is not like saying it's not an okay idea. I just think that it's not going to be addressing some of the challenges that we have in this area. And that is what we're really lacking in this community is affordable housing. And I think $300,000 to $700,000 is not really affordable housing, in my opinion, for what we need in the county. So if we do support you on this, then I would prefer personally, if we're going to do something like this, to put it on something that we really need in the community, which is more affordable housing rather than expensive homes like this. That's my opinion. We have 4 other opinions here that probably can make a difference, have a different opinion and do something different, and that's fine. The other thing I'm really concerned about, is the fact that we're putting it between the airport and the border, which is where we're doing all the economic development for businesses down there. And I know the argument can be made to say, well, look, we're building homes for those people that are going to be working in those factories. And that's probably the logic. However, when I think about that, I'm also putting, if I'm going to put 3,500 homes there, I'm potentially going to put 7,000 cars on the road every day, which is 7,000 cars impacting the economic, well, the e-commerce coming on Pete Domenici there to get north and south across the border. So I have a whole lot of concerns about how this meets the overall strategic plan, what we're trying to do down at Santa Teresa. And personally, it'll be really difficult for me personally to support something like this, regardless of how you do it, just because I think it's going to impact the long-term growth of our economy in that area. And I think I would like to, if you did the same thing 10 miles north, up past the airport, I'd look at it totally differently. But right there in the middle of where we're trying to do all this development for businesses and commerce, I have a challenge with that for our long-term strategy personally. And I also have a challenge with 2 people making a decision for 3,500 people about how this infrastructure is going to be paid for as well. So I don't have any more questions at this point. But thank you very much. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Reynolds. Any other questions, commissioners? I actually have a couple of questions. So, Mr. Pillar, come on up. I have a couple of questions for you. So I actually got an enlarged plan, and I'm showing 10 phases. Is that correct?
Chairman Chaparro, that is correct. One moment, I am Marty Pillar.
I'm sorry,
I'm
Marty.
the engineer working on this project.
Thank you.
For the developer. Yes, we are currently planning 10 phases for this development.
All right, what is your plan to commence this? How quickly do you plan on breaking ground?
We currently have phase 1 in review with the crew at Doña County. We're in the process of that right now, and we are hoping to break ground, hopefully for the end of the year, or very, very shortly after the first of the year.
Is that just for one phase or for several phases?
That would be for phase 1.
Right, and you do have, and I see Mr. Westmoreland here. Do we have, or do you all have the appropriate wastewater connections?
And Chairman Chaparro, yes, in working with CRUA, we have secured the appropriate water and sewer connections for our phase 1 that we have currently under review with the government agencies.
All right, and so I'm just looking at the number of homes, and I don't have a calculator, so how many homes do you think will be there in total by the time we get to phase 10?
We're looking at in the top right corner of that, it calls out, I think, 3,500 homes. And then the
got it.
multifamily, they are called out on there also, ma'am.
All right, just one more thing, Mr. Pillar. So if I'm looking at specifically Phase 8, and I'm showing 7.51 acres of multifamily residential along with 13.85 acres, and I can't tell if that is, I just can't, I can't really look at the legends very well. No, I'm sorry, Phase 5. So you have like a park or a sports field, I guess it is, 7.71 acres of sports field. And then you have next to it a multifamily residential. I don't mean to quibble with you, Mr. Pillar, but to me, it makes sense to have the apartment building provide shade for that sports field because it's so hot out there and it's so hot everywhere. And so I just came back from a conference and we were just talking about how we can make our communities friendlier for the children that are playing outside. And if we're going to put up a 2 to 3 story structure, then wouldn't that be wonderful if it provided shade for some of the parks where kids were playing, especially in the late afternoon? If you have that apartment complex put in the right direction, let's say the west, that can block the sun from the place where the kids are either playing soccer or softball and just provide them a few degrees of a decrease in temperature. And hopefully, I don't see any vegetation or anything else, but hopefully we'll put trees where they need to be put to provide shading for all the families. And I was going to piggyback after what Commissioner Reynolds said regarding affordable housing. Would you all be open to maybe partnering with Tierra del Sol to provide some housing that is a little lower than what you're anticipating?
Chair Chaparro, I think we'd like to have the owner answer that question.
Thank you.
Thanks for that question, Chairwoman Chaparro. The housing prices are going to probably start at about $275,000. There's been a considerable amount of pressure put on housing prices with the recent increases in mortgage interest rates. But that valuation, unfortunately, is on the low end of new housing starts in Doña County. I think a real effort needs to be made to specific areas to make housing even more affordable. This particular area, because of its location, valuation, and infrastructure, it's going to be very difficult to shave the prices down to make them more affordable than that. The average prices, there's a lot of upwards pressure. Our subdivision prices are 15 to 20% less than other developments in the area, and we're doing everything we can to keep those prices to a minimum.
Thank you. And so I'm assuming that the homes will be energy efficient, roofs, insulation. It's just getting hotter. It's not getting any cooler in this area.
Absolutely. The builders are working to improve efficiency and save on electrical use. They'll comply and exceed with all standards with regards to that efficiency, for sure.
Thank you. Commissioners, any other questions? Thank you.
Madam Chair?
Yes, Commissioner Sanchez.
Not in so much. I mean, if there's additional presentation, I'll wait to the end. But I think it's more of a general statement, so I'll leave it up to. Is there still more presentation?
Yes.
Okay, then I'll wait to my question or comments to the end.
Thank you, Commissioner Sanchez.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioners. My name is Devin McLaughlin, and I'm leading the economic impact study for this project. Can we just go ahead to the next slide? Oh, it's here. Thank you. Okay. One thing that we know has been talked about is the economic benefits of this project. And so Keep in mind, this is not including the PID bond and PID repayment. This is really focused on what is the direct revenue to the government. And you can see, of course, a lot of numbers on here. I think the key numbers that I want to focus on is the property tax revenue and the GRT that we expect this project will bring to the state and to the county specifically. If you guys have this, the county slide is the next one after this, but the high-level commentary here is this project is expected to bring about 4,500 homes, and with that will come, of course, property tax revenue, and there's also just under 1.8 million square feet of commercial buildings expected, and of course, that will bring the associated GRT over the next 20 years. One other way to look at this is based on the current values and current expectations, it would be about 64 million a year to the state, and that would be just over 15 million a year to the county as based on our projections. And I think we can go to the, I can go to the next slide. So looking specifically at what will go to Doña Ana County, based on our expectation is 372 million over 20 years, or as I said, a little bit over 15 million a year based on the current property valuations and current GRT numbers. And then this would get ramped up over the course of 20 years, as well as it would take some time for all of the infrastructure to get put in. So we're really just focusing again on property taxes and GRT. That's what we're expecting. Happy to get into any of the details and calculations or assumptions if anyone's interested, or happy to keep it high level and leave it at that. So if there's any questions from any of you, happy to answer those.
Commissioners, questions? Go ahead. No questions yet.
Okay. And this is the last part of our presentation. So happy to hand the floor over if there's any additional questions about the whole presentation.
Commissioner Sanchez, you had a question?
Yeah, and I know, looking specifically at the PID and not, I think the merits of plaques, I don't think we're looking at that specifically today. I think my only concern is around the implementation of the PID. And the only reason I say that is because this is not something we've generally done in the county. I'm not saying I'm for or against it. I think the issue that I have, and I actually think this is something we need to really explore as we continue to grow across the county with continual development. We need to identify some manner in which we're getting funds to continue to build the infrastructure, because I think as comments that I've made or that we've had here on the commission has been, how do we address the growth of sewer in the county and not going to septic? How do we improve the infrastructure for water? And I know we mentioned CRUA today. So I think, I know there's merit in this, but my concern is that if we don't have a blueprint in the county to understand how we're going to do this every time, then this is essentially going to be piecemealing these types of projects and PIDs. And, until we have some better understanding, I don't know if we do it through the UDC, whether that's something we do as the commission. I don't know where and how this exactly, the merits of having a PID specifically here, if this is the right way to implement it. And, I guess there's a lot of questions that come around that. And so I think my only concern is that us as a county start having these discussions to understand, is the PID the way to go? Is it, do we have impact fees? Do we have, et cetera? Those are the types of things that I don't know that we've had discussion in the county before. To be able to know, is this PID the right way to go? Because I think I understand where this goes. Are these the right numbers? Are these, are these sustainable? Are these correct? I don't know, but I just think as a county, we need to have a better vision rather than saying, okay, we're going to do it here, and then eventually another developer wants to do it, and we'll do it there. you know, I think we need to figure out, I think as Commissioner Reynolds had kind of noted slightly differently, in that we have a you know, what does our strategic plan say for the county and how we want to be introducing these types of districts across the county. So, thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Sanchez. Commissioners, any other questions, comments? Commissioner Reynolds?
Madam Chair, there's one more thing. I think this is actually looks a lot like, was it that the city uses the fees? Somebody give me the word. Impact fees. Yeah, this is a lot like us applying impact fees to a development, and I don't think we've stepped up to that bar yet. And agreeing with Commissioner Sanchez, I think that this is a discussion that we as a board need to have about some of our UDC policies and also how they apply to CRUA. Because I know we're in the process right now of trying to figure out a way to have CRUA actually adopt more of our UDC policies. And I think that this is really premature for us to even consider this until after we've had we're farther down the road from an organization and understanding what our plans are and what our partnerships are in Santa Teresa. So, I mean, even though, I'll be honest with you, I've done construction my whole life in a much smaller level, much smaller scale. If I could be guaranteed 2% profit on one of my developments, I'd feel pretty good about that. And that's kind of what we're looking at by putting these 2% levies on here. You're basically saying, yeah, that infrastructure I'd have to roll into the cost, I'm going to pretty much get up front. And so regardless of what happens, I'm going to make 2% just on starting the development. So I'm still looking at this more from a business perspective and saying, do I really want to start that in this county right now? And I think we have a whole lot more education that I need and this board needs to figure out exactly why this would be the right thing to do in this area of the county today, and whether we want to continue to do that throughout the rest of the county. So I think we're lacking enough information and understanding about what's going on here to really make these kind of decisions. But one of my biggest challenges, and I said it already, is that this is not affordable housing in Doña County. And that's what we're really, really, really struggling with. And until we figure out that model, I think putting any kind of extra tax money or burden on people for this kind of model is a little premature. That's the way I feel about it. But we don't have to make a decision today, so, you know, we'll continue to look at it, and I'll try to educate myself. And I have one question for Ms. Ainsworth, if you don't mind. Please educate me. Do we have any projects with PIDs today in Doña County?
Not that I'm aware of, and we did kind of look into it. There's not one approved that I know of there, although there have been 1 or 2 applications in the last 10 years that were not approved.
Okay, thank you. That's what I thought, but I wanted to confirm that before I draw that conclusion. Thank you very much. And I'd like to know where in Australia you're from at some point in time. Okay, my best friend Lexi lives there, and I've been there 4 times, so I got the accent. I'm going to guess, but not right now. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner Reynolds. Commissioners, any other comments, questions? I hear none.
Oh, Madam Chair, Madam Chairwoman, may I just make one kind of final wrap up? Everything that you've been talking about is stuff that we hear around the country. It's the same thing that everyone's grappling with. How do we provide public infrastructure? And PIDs are just one tool in your toolbox, along with development impact fees, along with, you know, GRT, along with all these other things. And what we're seeing around this state, and I'll talk about New Mexico specifically since that's where we are, is that it has become a tool that is being relied upon by other cities and other counties more and more. And so if you look at, you know, everywhere from north in Angel Fire, Tahoe Ski Valley, down to Rio Rancho and around Albuquerque and Bernalillo County and Sandoval County, and going down Los Lunas, they're becoming more and more predominant because of the infrastructure pressures that are facing, you know, counties and cities, and the lack of revenue that you all have to build out, you know, to build new infrastructure. You are, you know, taxed with keeping existing infrastructure, which is getting older and older, in good condition. And then you have, obviously, obligations that cities didn't have 50, 60, 70 years ago. So think of this as a tool in your toolbox for getting large-scale projects off the ground and providing infrastructure that you do need that doesn't come from existing taxpayers, you know, where we're trying not to burden existing taxpayers. And I did leave, just for your information, I left this with your county clerk. This is a list of projects around the country. It's published twice a year. It's the top 50 master plan communities in the country. And generally about 85 to 90% of the homes that are in these communities are financed with these tools. It's a very common tool across the country. And I think you will see more and more of them. So if there's specific information, I know Chris and Jenica are available to talk, you know, to provide probably a more in-depth PID discussion with you all that, you know, because we touched on it so lightly here. But if there's anything else that we can provide to you, please let me know. Happy to.
Thank you.
Madam Chair.
Commissioner Reynolds.
Yeah, to the board, I'd like to make one more comment that I think is relevant, and that is that when a developer actually does a development and they're responsible for the infrastructure, we the county, are not responsible for that until after it's built. So the suggestion, I think I hear her saying, is that we would be spending tax dollars on this infrastructure for this development if they weren't getting the PID. I think that's an inaccurate statement. I believe that as a developer, they're responsible for the infrastructure. Once the infrastructure meets our standards, then we as a county will take over the infrastructure. So the only time it becomes taxpayer burden is after the development is actually completed. So what you're drawing to, and I need to be educated if I'm wrong, but what I hear you saying is that the PID money is preventing us from having to use our dollars to build the infrastructure necessary for this development, and I'm going to have to check on that with our development people because I'm not sure that's completely accurate. Okay, Madam Chair, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Reynolds. Commissioners, anything else?
Actually, I do have a few questions.
Vice Chair Sheljo Hernandez, thank you.
And this might be for you, Ms. Amesworth. Since it sounds like we have not entered into a PID at all, is there a way that we can actually work with communities? Because I know like Rio Rancho does PIDs very often for a lot of their communities. Is there a way we can kind of talk to them, get a little bit more information, kind of inform this board more about what this is and what it does before we go forth? And then also with PIDs, what does that mean exactly for someone doing like first-time home buyers or veterans or anything like that? Does that exclude these individuals from purchasing these homes? What does that mean if you're getting outside funding? Does any institution or financial institution prevent people from borrowing if there's a PID on the property, or how does that work? Do we know it all?
Well, to the first question, I'd be happy to reach out to Rio Rancho, and I did in my previous capacity working for another jurisdiction also have some familiarity with PIDs. I just, you know, I want to comment that there were a couple that had been applied for here in the county, one that I am familiar with, and those failed because there were already other property owners in that area. Those were areas that had already had lots developed and people living there, but the roads were never brought up to standard. And so to come in with a PID after the fact and have people agree to pay an additional tax is pretty difficult. And so that was the reason that those failed. In most cases, when I've seen these, it's because it's a new development and they're trying to do something a little bit different with more amenities, better quality of life offered in that particular area. And so when a home buyer comes in, typically they're made aware that there's going to be this additional tax that they will be paying for, which pays for those amenities. And so that's typically how you see these working, because it's, like I said, it's very challenging to come in after the fact. I also wanted to point out that this area is already master planned. It does, those zoning districts are already in place, and it is zoned for these types of uses. That was master planned at least 20 years ago, and it has just sat vacant all of these years. So it is projected to develop for these uses at some point, unless we as staff and you as a decision-making body decide to change those zones. And then as for your other question, I'm not the expert in financing, but I would assume that a home buyer could still apply for other benefits that they might be entitled to. And it would all come down to, how much can they make in a monthly payment? And all of those calculations would be done by some financial experts and mortgage loaners who might be looking to offer loans to these people.
Thank you, Vice Chair Shaldo Hernandez.
Madam Chair,
Commissioner
I have
Reynolds.
another question from Ms. Ainsworth.
There's another question for you.
Ms. Ainsworth, yes. I think I just heard you say that the master plan was actually approved 20 years ago under the under the ETZ. Is that correct?
Yes, and that's a ballpark. It was in the late 90s, early 2000s, and there were several amendments. I think the last amendment was in 2007.
If my memory serves me correctly, I've dealt with a couple of ETZs around my neighborhood, and I understand that most of them had a 10-year life on them. That if they didn't actually start the development within 10 years, then the approval by the ETC for the master plan was actually expires automatically. Have you checked on that on
And
this one?
that is not the case. The master plan is still in effect. It has not expired. And they are actually, the county is basically honoring it because it was approved under the ETZ. And because it's under CRUA, CRUA adopted essentially anything that was in place at the time that they were formed. And so the county continues to honor any of those standards that were approved prior to CRUA's formation.
Okay, so what you're saying is it did not or did have an expiration on it, and
It does not have an expiration on it. The master plan itself does not have an expiration, and the zoning districts that are mirrored in the master plan are actually existing zoning districts in that area. And zoning does not expire.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Reynolds. Commissioner Sanchez.
Just more of, again, just a comment, and I'd be curious if either, maybe we look at a work session or, even have this as more of a discussion for a future BOCC meeting, but I feel like given kind of, to get a better understanding of, like I said, how we can use PIDs, how do other municipalities use them? What can be our plan? And I think, maybe this is kind of an offshoot of it, but, when we start looking at our UDC and, are there opportunities for us to start looking specifically at how our, the communities are being implemented and designed? And I'll take, for example, I can't remember the name of it, but I know it was, we just approved one that was right off of Taylor and Northwind. And what we're starting to see is, and this is not at all comment on this specific project. I just in general, where developers are utilizing our UDC, intentionally oversizing lots so they do not have to build infrastructure. They do not have to provide sidewalks. They do not have to provide lights, et cetera. And so, while I understand that is what's currently in our UDC, but is that something we want to continue with? Because as we continue to see growth, particularly, and this is just in general on the county, outside of the municipal or the municipalities, like in this case, we're outside of El Paso, Santa Teresa, but now here in Las Cruces, as people want bigger lots. Again, I know that's what doesn't apply to this because it's been a master plan, but is this what we're going to think about for the growth? Because as we continue to grow out of the municipalities, at some point, I would like to think that people are going to want, we see this in Doña, we see it in a lot of the communities I have, where they want sidewalks, they want these things, and our UDC doesn't address them because, it's in the county. And so, like I said, I don't know, like I said, going back to my initial comment, which is, perhaps we can have a discussion about, these tools, impact fees, PIDs, what do we want to do as a county so that we can address the growing infrastructures that we see is with this growth, and maybe we'd also look at UDC and how we can start addressing some of these situations. So
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you, Madam
Thank you,
Chair.
Commissioner Sanchez. Anything else, commissioners? All right, hearing nothing else, then I've been asked for a break before we commence the consent agenda. 10 minutes, commissioners, is that sufficient? All right, we're on break for 10 minutes. The time is 11:13. Thank you. time is 11:23. We're back in session. We're missing, oh, I thought you were up there. We will now move forward with the consent agenda, items 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Commissioners, is there anything you'd like to pull off the agenda at this time for further consideration? Thank you. May I have a motion?
Move to approve.
I have a motion by Vice Chair Shelter Hernando to approve the entire consent agenda. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second by Commissioner Reynolds. Any other comments, questions? Hearing none, may I have a roll call vote?
Commissioner Murillo,
Yes.
Commissioner Reynolds,
Yes.
Commissioner Sanchez,
Yes.
Vice Chair Shaljo Hernandez,
Yes.
Chair Chaparro.
Yes, motion carries unanimously. We will now move on to hearings and ordinances.
Madam Chair,
Yes,
we do
resolution
have resolution numbers. For item number 7, there's 2 resolution numbers. 2023-80, 2023-81. Item number 8, 2 resolution numbers. First one is 2023-82, 2023-83. Item number 9, resolution number 2023-84.
Thank you very much. All right, we'll move on to agenda item number 13, hearing on a restaurant, a liquor license for Reno's Thai Time LLC. Hello again, Dr. Lopez-Askin.
Hello and still good morning, Chair Chaparro and Commission. I'm here this morning and I believe I have to be sworn in.
Or the hearing gives.
Do you promise to tell the truth?
The whole truth and nothing but the truth, so help me God. Yes, I do. Thank you. I'm here today to present to you pursuant to NMSA 1978, Section 60-6B-4. The County Commission Board must hold a public hearing on the application within 45 days of the receipt of the application. And so today we are going through that process. There has been a restaurant, it's Renew's Thai Time, that is located off of Highway 70 in Oregon, who have applied for, received preliminary approval from the New Mexico Regulation and Licensing Division. I am here to present that to you, as well as advise you that we have received no correspondence from community members, schools, et cetera, that have any difficulty with this application. The applicant is not here today, and so I can't answer specific questions, although you should in your packet have a pretty comprehensive, I think, information that includes a map as well as the distance from, I think the nearest school is 3.5 miles. So everything seems to be in order, and so I'm asking for approval for this liquor license today. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioners, any questions, any comments? You know, and Commissioners, I just think this is a good idea. This particular restaurant is in my district. And to have a restaurant and maybe a small retail business connected to this restaurant, I think would be very helpful to the area, bring in additional revenue. So that's all I have to say about that. May I have a motion, please?
Move to approve.
Thank you.
Second.
Vice Chair Shelter Hernandez. I have a second by Commissioner Reynolds. Any other comments, questions? May I have a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Murillo,
Yes.
Commissioner Reynolds,
Yes.
Commissioner Sanchez,
Yes.
Vice Chair Shaljo Hernandez,
Yes.
Chair Chaparro.
Yes, motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Askin. We're on to agenda item number 14, an ordinance authorizing the issuance and sale of Doña County, New Mexico taxable industrial revenue bonds, Franklin Mountain Packaging LLC project in a maximum principal amount of $25 million to provide funds to finance the development of a corrugated sheet and packaging manufacturing facility for an industrial bond revenue project for use for Franklin Mountains Packaging LLC. May I have a motion?
So move.
I have a motion by Commissioner Murillo,
Second.
second by Commissioner Shelter Hernandez. Ms. Ainsworth.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. This project, as you mentioned, is for a location in Santa Teresa for corrugated sheet and packaging manufacturing. They are proposing a 20-year term, a 25% pilot, as well as a 75% additional pilot for the Flood Commission. And that is a standard that we have been requesting, at least for the last couple of IRBs that have come forward. Unless you have any questions, we would be ready for a motion.
Well, commissioners, any comments, any questions? No. Are we ready for a vote? May I have a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Murillo,
Yes.
Commissioner Reynolds,
Yes.
Commissioner Sanchez,
Yes.
Vice Chair Shaljo Hernandez,
Yes.
Chair Chaparro.
Yes, motion carries unanimously.
There is an ordinance number 341-2023.
Thank you. Moving on to agenda item number 15, an ordinance authorizing the issuance and sales of Doña County, New Mexico taxable industrial revenue bonds, BSREH LLC project, in a maximum principal amount of $23 million to provide funds to finance the acquisition and construction of a facility for processing and sale of bulk packaged whole onions for an industrial revenue bond project for use by Oro Onions LLC, an affiliate of the company. May I have a motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
A motion by Vice Chair Shaldo Hernandez, a second by Commissioner Reynolds. Ms. Ainsworth?
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Yes.
And actually, items
think you
15
can
and
do-
16 are related.
I was about to ask if I could do that.
Well, Madam Chair, unless there's questions by the commission, because you're familiar with all of these IRBs that have come for publication before, you can make a motion
To do all three.
not to do all of the remaining ones, that they just be designated separately in our meeting for approval. I mean, you can do that if you want to save.
Vice
So,
Chair
Madam
Shaldo
Chair,
Hernandez?
I move to approve the ordinance on 17 and actually 16, 17, and 15, 16, 17, and 18, and I move to approve all of them.
I have a motion by Commissioner or Vice Chair Shaldo Hernandez
I'll second it.
for this commission to approve agenda item 15 regarding Oro Onions LLC, 16 regarding Oro Onions LLC, 17 for Monte Incorporated, and 18 for Monte Incorporated. I have a second by Commissioner Reynolds. Commissioners, any comments, any questions?
Madam Chair,
Commissioner Sanchez.
I just have one request. Would you be able
Yes.
to read each of these 5 times fast?
I can do it. I'm an
Please.
interpreter. I can read it very quickly.
Read the numbers 5 times, but not the, that's all you need. Item 15.
Apart from that, any comments, any questions? May I have a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Murillo,
Yes.
Commissioner Reynolds,
Yes.
Commissioner Sanchez,
Yes.
Vice Chair Shaljo Hernandez,
Yes.
Chair Chaparro.
Yes. So agenda items 15, 16, 17, and 18 are approved unanimously by this board.
And Madam Chair, if you can just direct or reflect to the clerk that the votes be listed individually in the minutes.
May the votes be listed individually in the minutes for each agenda item. And for each agenda item, we do have a unanimous vote. Thank you.
For item number 15, we have an ordinance number 342-2023. Item 16, ordinance number 343-2023. Item number 17, ordinance number 344-2023. Item 18, ordinance number 345-2023.
Thank you, Eddie. We'll move on to agenda item number 19, correspondence received by Doña County.
We do have 3. Julio A. Sandoval versus DAC. Treasurer Hazan versus DAC. Raymond Sabrina, Raymond Jr., Josiah, and Aiden Gutierrez versus Doña County.
Thank you, sir. All right, we've reached the end of our agenda, and the time is 3:34, and we are adjourned. Thank you, commissioners. Thank you, Mr. Macias and staff.
Madam Chair, the time is what?
11:34.
Okay, thank you. I thought you said 3:34. Yes, I